Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all: family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today's honored guest is Diana Stobo, who is a visionary in the global health and wellness industry. She's celebrated for her transformative approach to gut health and holistic living. She is also an author of a best-selling book called Get Naked Fast, and she has published over 15 health and wellness articles. Diana is a trusted authority, but she is also an entrepreneur. She has a thriving business, the retreat at Costa Rica, which I one day wish that I can attend to. And she has also established and created a nutrition bar called Truth Bar. Now, I'm going to let her tell us more about these businesses that she's running, because I am so curious to pick her brain how they came about. But without further ado, Diana, please introduce yourself in your own words and tell us, who are you and what do you do currently?
Okay. Well, I'm Diana Stobo, and you're correct. I own a top wellness resort in the world, number 6 in the world, that I
Wow.
built from scratch. And it actually came after a divorce, and I thought I was so sad that I had to put my energy into something.
Wow, what a
Um,
what a nice gift.
right? But simultaneously, I built Truth Bar. So the two of them were actually being built at the same time, and I think it was just an act of energetic pulsation, like sadness. And I thought, I have to do something with my life because I can't sit in this sadness. And I wanted to have something to inspire me. But we go back,
Wow.
but if we go back a few years, the reason I ended up in a divorce is because I was starting to thrive in my own way. I wrote Get Naked Fast. I wrote Naked Bliss. I've written, they're not articles, they're actually books. I've written 15 books. Get Naked Fast was a bestseller that I just kind of did out of the back of my car. I sold, 60,000 copies like the first couple months just out of
Wow.
my car. And it was really interesting. So I was very sick at the age of 35. I had cancerous stomach issues, gut issues, as you can imagine. That's my specialty. I also had done in vitro fertilization for my children, and I was very, very sick for a long time and just worn down. And it wasn't until I ended up in the hospital, the bleeding ulcer.
Mm.
I'll never forget this. My kids were really little, and I was laying someone had to come stay with my children. And I went to the hospital, and I was laying there, and they gave me morphine.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was in so much pain. And I thought, okay, so what's the problem? Because I'm a fixer. Like, give me a problem,
By
I'll find a
nature, you're a
solution.
problem solver.
Yeah, I'll find a solution to this problem.
Well,
And
let me cut you off right there. Take us back a little bit more. When and how did your health problems begin? Did it just come all of a sudden, or what happened when you were 35?
well, it's interesting because in my 20s I had a bleeding ulcer, and
Okay.
I'll never forget my dad thought I was pregnant. I'm like, "Dad, you don't throw up blood when you're pregnant." And I come from and I'm Persian, so that was devastating for him to even imagine that, oh, how could my girl get pregnant,
The
you know?
old conservative cultures.
Yeah, and that was actually stressful upbringing. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really healthy because I was raised in the Mediterranean lifestyle. I didn't eat bad foods, but for some reason my body was super sensitive to anything that I put into it. I couldn't drink alcohol. I was very sensitive to sugar all my life. I wouldn't
Wow.
say that I had health issues. I was very healthy, but they started to build up over time. And when I got pregnant the first time and I had an ectopic pregnancy, I ended up having 3 in a row. And so I had to do in vitro fertilization. And they load
Wow.
you up on hormones, and you're stuck with all these drugs. And I'm sure some people can process them and get them out of their body, but I couldn't. And so I just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And all these health issues started happening, and I got, bursitis, they call, I mean, they had a name for everything. You name it, I had it. Chronic fatigue syndrome, gut issues, blah, 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 blah. It was just like a long list.
Yeah, and once something's off in our bodies, it just is almost like a domino effect that affects the other
Exactly.
things. And you try to treat one thing with medication that has side effects. So I can only imagine how all of that triggered. And, if you were taking all those hormonal drugs and your body wasn't processing them properly, that I can only imagine how much it could throw everything off.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what happened. It was like a perfect storm. And after that bleeding ulcer, I was laying in the emergency room, and I remember thinking, this is not my life. Actually, every pivoting moment of my life has been, this is not my life. I can literally say it, hear it in my voice, in my head.
Mm.
This is not
Like
my
you're
life.
meant for something different. This is not where you're supposed to be. Like that intuition.
Yes, yes. And it's actually happened when I was young, and I moved out of my house, my mother's house, when I was 11, and moved in with my dad. And I'll never forget the reason why. I was walking around. I was a latchkey kid. My mom was working. And after school, the girl down the street invited me to come over to her house to play. I don't know. I was kind of innocent, kind of silly. And she and her sister were there smoking cigarettes. And
Mm.
I'll never forget the torn curtains, and it looked like it was an unkept house with no discipline and I remember thinking, this is not my life. And I
Wow.
moved in with my father, like within 6 months. I had to get out of there because I didn't want to be a latchkey kid alone by myself.
Wow, you had
Yeah,
that intuition that you need to do something different. And
yeah.
that same thing you said happened to you when you were in the hospital. Now, that was kind of your wake up call to do things different or to try to find a solution to your problem. Now, how did that lead to you writing the books and also having establishing the retreat? I mean, I can only imagine how difficult that must have been if you've never done it before.
Well, and it's interesting because it is a process, and because I'm very aligned energetically. I like to listen to the universe. As soon as I was laying in bed going, this is not my life, my sister sends me the Body Ecology Diet.
Uh-huh.
And I started reading that. And then I started reading a whole host of books. And then I got deeper and deeper into my research and finding out the issues that cause the inflammation in my body. And that's when I wrote Get Naked Fast, a guide to stripping away the foods that weigh you down. No dairy, no meat, no sugar, no wheat, no caffeine, no alcohol. And I created this book called The No-Nos. But I started off by writing a list on my refrigerator. No, dairy, No, and then I wrote on top, know the no's. And it was all these
Mm.
no's. And so every time I went to the refrigerator, I thought, what am I going to eat?
I know, that's what I'm thinking right
Right?
now.
What
As
do I
you
eat?
mentioned, no dairy, no sugar, no meat. I'm like, well, those are all the things I eat. So what can you eat with that diet?
Exactly. Well, and I want to be specific. It's know the no's. And so I use that terminology, meaning you can eat them. You just have to be very careful of where they come from. Are they organic? Where are they sourced? Are they fermented? There's a lot of ways to look at this food. Our food supply is so tainted, as we know. And so I started just eating fruits and vegetables. And then because I'm a trained French chef, chocolatier, and professional baker from my history at Cornell,
Wow.
started creating, recipes. And then Whole Foods in the Bay Area actually invited me to come and celebrate my recipes. That's what they called it. They put me out front and they said, just do your recipes, talk about health and wellness, and you're going
And
to be
that's
our
huge. If
spokesperson.
Whole Foods is inviting you, that's huge.
This was, gosh, it was many years ago. They don't do that anymore because it was when Whole Foods was owned by Whole Foods.
Yeah.
And people would walk by, I'd give them samples of some of the foods that I made. And next thing you know, I was a regular. I came 3 times a week. They said every time I did that, they ran out of that product that I was testing that day. So I
Mm.
started writing a book with all the recipes and I started speaking at all the Whole Foods all over the country. I think at the time there was probably only 190 of them.
Oh, that's it.
No, and I went.
Oh, good.
I was in Texas. I was in New York. I was in,
Wow.
and I started talking about how to feel good in your body naked. And it wasn't just about the losing the weight, because as soon as I put the no-nos on the refrigerator, I lost 10 pounds in 10 days, right? Just boom,
Wow.
just by eliminating the inflammation. And people are like, how did you do that? And they're like, I said, listen, it's not about the weight loss. It's about feeling good and comfortable in your body naked. And someone reached out and said, I want to get naked. And so that's where I got the name for the book was Get Naked Fast.
I love it. It's
Lose
very
10 pounds in 10
catchy.
days.
And in the book, you break down everything that you're talking about, right? How to get to that optimal health with the diet and all of that. So, can you kind of give us maybe your three key takeaways? If someone were to read the book today, what would be the three key takeaways that you would want them to get from the book?
Well, the book is like a recipe book, and it gives you all the reasons why you eat a certain way. And remember, this was 2010 when I wrote that. So we've learned a lot through the internet over the years. Uh, I insist you get at least 50% of your diet raw vegetables, fruits every day. And
Yeah,
so
which
the
we
best
don't
way to
do a
do
lot
that,
in America.
the best way to do that is to drink a green juice. That's what I say.
Easiest way.
Easiest way. And I think we've all learned that now, and they're available everywhere. And you got to press this and the press that. At the time, there was no such thing available.
Now, I have a question about that. So, I've also heard that, even the pressed juices, unless it's literally farm to table and freshly pressed, you lose X amount of the nutrition factor of it. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and how can we kind of pick the good over bad fresh vegetables?
Right. Well, oxidation is aging, right? You know that you're in the beauty business. You know that your body oxidizes. That's how we look older. So we need to make sure that the fruits and vegetables are the freshest, which means that they have not oxidized yet. And when you bottle them and buy them on the shelf, they're pressed and pasteurized. Most are pasteurized. So you don't want to get a pasteurized product. Pasteurized means it's heated, and heated is cooking, and heating kills the nutrients. So you don't want an old product, and you don't want anything that's heated. The best thing to do is go to a juice bar or learn how to juice yourself. And or what people have learned over time, it's harder to juice. Have a smoothie, throw a cucumber and some kale in a smoothie with some fresh fruit, and you're good.
Yeah, and there's great recipes out there that make good tasting smoothies.
Exactly. They are really fantastic, actually.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, you currently, are there any passion projects you're working on? Anything new that you're developing as far as books, products? I'm curious.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm expanding. So the
Okay.
retreat was built with 9 rooms. So when I got the divorce, I thought I have to do something, right? And I ended up buying this
Well,
property.
take us back. I'm sorry to cut you off, but let me fill the timeline
Okay.
in for our audience who don't know you very well. So, you got sick around 35. You're in the hospital bed. You're saying, this is not my life. I'm going to do something different. You started your research, started writing the books. You're still married at this point
Mhm.
and you have your kids?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So then you started doing all of that, published a book, Whole Foods is loving you. And then after that, what happened? Take us to your next step that led you to the retreat.
That was so long ago.
But you look 15.
I'm actually turning 60
No,
in
I do
March.
not believe it. And I
Yeah.
hope our audience, you guys go check her out on YouTube if you're listening on a podcast platform because she literally looks 18.
Oh my God, you're so cute. But the important thing is it doesn't really matter when you start. It's when you're ready to start. And some people are ready younger and whatever. Adversity brings, I think, the biggest challenges that kind of catapult us or ignite us into the next stage of our life. And I mean, I'm still a kid. I had a pretty nice relationship with my ex-husband. He took very good care of me, and I got to care for myself, which was fantastic. I'm so appreciative. I didn't even start my business until I was in my 40s.
Wow.
So, yeah. And
And that's really hard to do, honestly. And I want to applaud you for that because a lot of people just use that excuse that, hey, it's too late. I didn't go to school for this. I don't have the support. Now I'm responsible for my kids. Oh, I don't have enough time. They find all these reasons not to do it. So I want to applaud you for that, that
yeah.
you're like, nope, this is my life. I'm starting over and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create X, Y, and Z for myself. It doesn't matter how old I am. So congratulations on accomplishing that and being such a great role model for other entrepreneurs.
Well, I think what's also important is when you have a passion, something that's super meaningful to you. I know that a lot of people are like, I need to figure out what to do with myself. And I
Yeah.
don't think I didn't have a choice because everything that happened in my life led me to this. So
But you
it
could
was,
have very much well broken down, be like, oh no, life sucks. I
yeah,
gained this weight from this. Now I'm
go to
gonna
the
be sad.
bar, start drinking.
Exactly. It's when we're faced with very hard times, we have two decisions. We can either go downhill and just say, "Oh, okay, this is me now. Great. Feel bad for me." We could be victims. Or the second thing is we could say, "Okay, no, I don't like this. Let me do something about it." And it does take a strong person to do that. And honestly, I'm so proud of you for being such a good example for people listening. It's like it could be so tragic to go through these things or even a divorce and people don't do anything with that. But you're like, nope, instead of sitting down and feeling sorry for myself, I'm going to put all this energy into creating literally your legacy.
I wasn't built for sadness. So when I feel caged in something, I have to burst out of it. It's one of those things that's who I am. You know, some people like
What do
love
you
sadness.
think? Yeah, but what do you think made you that way? Because I've done a lot of research too, and I know like we become this person that could lead to being a successful person, and X, Y, and Z determines that factor. For you, in your opinion, what do you think determines your, I guess, resilience in order to be that person who gets out of a hard time instead of sitting and dwelling upon it?
It's a very good question. I don't know for sure, but I can say that growing up in a family where there was a lot of I can'ts or you can't do that. Like when I first graduated from college, I wanted to be an art director and I got hired at Newsweek in New York City,
Mm,
but they were offering me $20,000 a year. And my family was like, you can't go there. You cannot survive. You cannot afford to live there. And
mm.
so I didn't take it. And did I regret it? Maybe I regretted it at the time or wish I had, taken that leap, but I was scared. I was actually really scared and I hated that I was scared. I believed what they were telling me. And so as I grew and I learned, I was like, there's no time for being scared. You have to be courageous in all your decisions that you make. And so I just kind of put it on myself going, you know what, if I fail, I fail. And that's part of life. And I have failed. I've failed a lot of times. There are times when I can say that my businesses were the most expensive educations I've ever had.
I was about to say the businesses you start off with, because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. There are businesses you can start with a lower budget that's not as risky, but the stuff you did, the retreat and the physical barks, it is a food product that does go
Yeah.
bad. So it is risky and costly to start those businesses. So I was curious what your process was, and you did it simultaneously. What gave you the inspiration to do both of them together? And how was it kind of pushing through that fear of, hey, what if I waste or my investment goes south and I'm putting all this effort and money into these businesses and they don't go well. Did that cross your mind, or what was your thought process as you were trying to bring your dream come to life?
Well, the important timeline that we missed is that after I did the Whole Foods, I was getting a lot of television. I have a YouTube channel where I was doing shows, and before influencers were even influencers. There was no Facebook at the time, there was no Instagram at the time. And so I was a YouTube influencer. And so I started doing television, started doing infomercials and getting paid for that. And so, I was doing TV all over the nation. And so when I did the bar, I had gotten hired to write a menu plan for Tabata, which was owned by NBC Universal.
Oh,
And
wow.
they asked me to be part of this, this infomercial. It was a product. You remember when you used to buy the products in the container and they plug it in? So I wrote the menu. The menu was fantastic. That product was really good. And the partner asked me to create supplements and bars and stuff to kind of fill that. So I had a partner. He funded all the R&D, and I did the work because I had the ability. I'm a chef. I'm a health food person, so I had all the ability to do the food design. And they ended up having a lawsuit. He ended up having a lawsuit with NBC Universal. They got into a big fight, and we had never signed our contract. So here I was with 15 products that I had created, and I ended up finding somebody who loved the bar so much, they invested in it. And that's how it started. So while
Wow.
that was happening, I had gotten a divorce, and my mother owned the house that the retreat was built on in Costa Rica.
Oh, wow.
And I'm telling you, it's like everything happened to me, you know,
You know,
ended up
it kind of
happening for
sounds
me.
like you take what's in front of you and you don't say no. Is that true? Do you just kind of go with the flow of what the universe is bringing in
That's
front of
exactly
you?
what I say. I always say, I say yes to the universe.
I love that. I'm actually very similar as well. If something's not working
Yep.
out, I try to look for signs. Okay, why is this not working out? Am I missing a hint or a clue from the universe to do the next thing?
And sometimes we have to ask. We're like, am I going the right way? What am I doing? Send me a sign, because we don't know. I mean, something just happened this week, and hopefully I'll be able to share that with you, that has kind of turned me around again. So the retreat, so I ended up buying half of the property. I had to pay the final bill. So it wasn't like I had to put money out in the beginning. My mother said her husband had died and they were financially strapped. She couldn't pay the final payment to the Costa Rica.
Mm.
So I paid it. And then I got there, and then I ended up giving her half of her money back once the building was built. I started building. I just started building this dream place that I wanted.
Wow.
And I only had 9 rooms to start, and that was a big nugget. I don't know. Somehow I thought I was going to be in Thailand and I could put, a little bit of money down and, all of a sudden I'd have the structure. But Costa
Well,
Rica is
tell us a
very,
little bit, take us back a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the retreat. So I read that it is a luxury retreat, which who doesn't want to go to a luxury retreat to get better, right? But tell us more. So who is the retreat for, and what can you benefit from attending the retreat?
So the retreat was built, it's called the retreat. And the idea was people were going to retreats and it was on certain dates, right? With certain leaders. So what
Mm-hmm.
I did is I created 365 days a year, 24/7, as many days if you want to go for 3 days, if you want to go for 21 days. It's constantly a retreat. There's
Oh, I
yoga
love
twice a day.
that. So it's just a lifestyle already happening there.
So and it evolved into a luxury wellness hotel. It's not a retreat, it's constant. It's a
I
retreat-like
see.
environment where there's community, there's yoga, there's spa, there's great food, there's hiking, there's excursions, everything that you would want. There's leadership, there's emotional healing. We've got professionals there all the time helping. It's just a luxury wellness retreat style hotel.
Oh, I love that. Okay, thank you for clarifying that because that's different, and I think that's awesome because you don't have to do anything different, schedule events. It's constantly what it is, and it's like a home away from home if you want to go
It
and
is literally a home away from
focus.
home. We get people who
Yeah.
come 4 times a year, and they call it their home away from home because it's like, I just wanna get out of I just need a refresh, and they go there to refresh, and it's perfect for that. So I started off with 9 rooms. I started building, and there was already some structures there because my mother was starting to build a little Airbnb, and so I kind of filled those in. So I didn't have to put a lot of capital out. I mean, it was significant amount, but it wasn't as much as you would think it would be. And we started to sell, and because I had already built a name for myself and a brand for myself, people were coming. But after about 4 months, people that were my followers who could afford to come had already come, and they wanted more.
Mm.
So I had a lull, had a lull where I was like, "Oh, no, now what do I do? Oh, I have to market this." Right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the hard part about business. A lot of people who've never run a business before, they think the hard part is coming up with the idea, coming up with a product or structuring your business, and then, oh no, that part was the easy part. Actually marketing it and having sales is the hard part after that. So I think I'm glad you're bringing that up because a lot of entrepreneurs and young leaders that are listening to this podcast, they don't think about that. They
They
come
don't
up with
think
a
about it. I
great
didn't think about it. I knew nothing about
yeah,
it.
I
Yeah.
didn't either at first. Honestly, I didn't. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. It's gonna happen. You just assume like it's
Build
a
it and
great
they will come. Like, no, they don't come. You
yes,
gotta
I
give them a
think
reason to come. You have to tell them what it's about. But also, they're you have to tell them in a certain way that reaches them. And that's the pain point is what are people asking for? What do they need? And sometimes we think we know, but it's a totally different what they're getting out of what you're delivering is different than what you think they're getting.
Yes, and that's a mistake I've made in the past. I thought, oh, I am my ideal customer, so I know my customers want this, right? So I love my business, I love the service and product I'm offering because I'm the customer. But it's not true. Not everybody is like you. You need to do the surveys, do the research, and do all of that, and you'd be surprised what you find. Now, my question to you for marketing is how much of your personal time and energy would you say you put into marketing your businesses? Let's just kind of combine all of it together versus, I guess, like sales, operations, all of that other stuff. How much of your time do you like to dedicate to marketing?
I would say marketing is probably the creation, obviously keeping everything in integrity is number one for me, and then the second is marketing. I did not use myself well. I didn't sell myself well. I got a little overwhelmed, to be honest. I'm very authentic, and so when Instagram and all this social media stuff took off, I fell short because it seemed, I don't know, it just seemed contrived to take videos of your everyday, and I thought that just doesn't seem like it's that important, but I missed the boat on that one for sure.
I bet a lot of people feel like that about a lot of things, and I do too. My biggest platform was YouTube as well, and on the other platforms, I never put that much effort in. Actually, never put that much effort into social media because things were just naturally working out for me until one day I was like, wait a minute. I need to put in more effort because now there's more competition, there's more people, you can't drop the ball. But I consider
But then it's saturated and you have to differentiate yourself. And these people have been doing it for so long, they've got their gig and it's good, you know?
Yes, yes. And with the technology, AI, and all this stuff, it's becoming easier and easier. So there is more competition. But I'm a big believer, we all have our business, we all have our customers. People buy from us because they love us. I think that's key these days. So, with that said, as far as marketing, do you focus on you being your brand mainly? Because that's kind of what it sounds like from what
No,
you're saying. No, okay. So other
no,
marketing efforts.
no, it's really, I mean, the retreat has taken on a life of its own. Like I said, I started off with 9 rooms and I went down to Argentina because I was marketing. I was at a show and I was sitting there and this lovely man took me out to dinner and he had 6 hotels in the Galapagos. And, he was kind of, I love how always men are always trying to like, how long are you going to do this hobby of yours kind of thing. And,
Man,
and I said, what
don't
do you mean?
underestimate a woman.
Uh-huh. Which what pushes me. And I said, what do you mean hobby? And he goes, 9 rooms is a hobby, 12 rooms is a business. So, I mean, I was in Argentina. I caught on the phone so fast that I said, start building.
It's a
And so we,
challenge accepted.
uh-huh. So I built 4 rooms. We were still only 11 rooms. And then about, gosh, let's see, about 7 years ago, I came into this great investment that I had made, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to start building a spa because we only had 3 room spa. It was this little tiny, remember, it was a house. So I kind of kept arranging and rearranging. And since I built houses in the past, I knew how to remodel and knew how design worked. I designed the entire thing by myself, and it's actually one of the reasons why people love it. It's because it just feels very fresh and open
And homie.
and homey. And so I just started moving and I started building this hotel, this spa. But I have to go back because the next year, what happened was I went to another event and I was desperate. Yes, I thought I was going to go bankrupt because my overhead was so high. And in order to get my overhead paid for, I had to have a certain amount of bookings. And still, we were young. And I thought, God, I've got this beautiful retreat. I mean, we've got incredible reviews. It's wonderful.
Do you think you expanded too quickly, or
No,
what would you do different if you could go
no,
back?
not at all. Not at all. I did not expand too quickly. I started to give up a little too quickly. So
Hey, it
I went to
happens.
the Global Wellness Summit thinking I would find somebody to buy it. And as I was talking, I realized I'm not going to find any buyer. There's a dime a dozen of hotels that were built in Costa Rica that haven't made a name for themselves. So afterwards, they always go to an event. They pick a really high-end hotel, and then you get these super great prices to experience other hotels. Travel industry is great. So I went
Yeah,
to this
that
hotel,
sounds great.
and they had this gorgeous spa over a cenote. And so they were scrubbing my feet while I was looking out into the cenote. And then as I was getting the massage, I thought, all I could think about is that beautiful view. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to sell this. I'm going to buy the land around it and I'm going to build a spa. And
Mm,
just like that, I just like that, I said it and it happened. And the way that the land was purchased was in such a way that it was completely coming out of the retreat and it was being paid. I could afford it. I set that up and I took an old house that was on the property, bought that property as well in payments and started building.
wow.
And that is how the spa. So we have an 8,000 square foot award-winning best in the Americas spa. And that's where I was able to start bringing in the healing uh, modalities beyond just the food and the exercise. So I
And I
brought
thought I
Ayurveda.
also sorry to cut you off. I also read Michelin star food. How was that? Can you talk a little bit more
That's what
about
I'm
that?
working on now. That's
Oh,
what I'm
okay.
working on
All
now.
right. That's
And I want to tell the story because
exciting.
this is how you say yes to the universe, right? So the retreats, so now the retreat's thriving, the spa is doing fantastic, and we're booked. And we're booked to the point where people want to start doing events and they want 35, 40 people to come to the events. Well, we only have 18 rooms. So I can't put in
Time
30
to expand
people.
again.
So, and I already bought the land thinking I was going to put my house there, build a house and, that's where I would live. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to build a house there. This time I took out a loan on a bank because, it's like, okay, this is a big project. And so I started building, and now we're building two more restaurants, the third pool, and this big Santosha, which is a yoga shala, and this big gym. And we're inviting the people in Costa Rica to come and become members, and it won't affect the quaintness of the hotel because it's literally right below, and it's so grand. We could have 100 people there, nobody would ever see each other. That's how big it's 60 acres, so
Wow.
a lot going on.
That's
But I was
beautiful. Congratulations on all those expansions and projects and
Thank
plans.
you.
It's very, very
I
exciting. And
mean,
I'm honored
I
to be
don't get any
talking.
money out of it. Just so you know, I haven't earned one dime from this hotel. Everything that gets made goes right back into the project. So I still
Yes,
have the hustle
I
over
mean,
here where I support myself.
smartest entrepreneurs when you're reinvesting in your business, right? As long as you can live your lifestyle, you do have to invest back in your business if you want to expand it. Because at one point, it becomes more of a, like you said, a passion project compared to just making profit. After X amount of time, X amount of money, if you can have the lifestyle you want, then it becomes more.
Yeah, and let me just share this. How does that sound to people? People who think, well, if I need to make a living, how much do I need to make? How do I pay my rent? How do I you incorporate that into your business? You actually make that part of your business. Like my house is my business. I work 7 days a week, 24/7. So everything I do, I'm a chef. So I'm always creating new recipes. So my groceries, part of my groceries can be, on my business account. So
Of
you
course.
started in court. I can go get spa treatments and,
It's research.
it's research. And I travel and it's research. So everything I do now is part of my life. So my business supports my life, but I do not get an income. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, yes, of
Yeah.
course. Now let's talk a little bit more about your your personal skills, right? I like to ask a lot on successful entrepreneurs, what are their morning routines, night routines? How do you make goals? I guess I'll ask one question at a time. So let's talk about morning and night routines. Do you have a ritual?
Is it beauty you're asking?
No, no, just anything. It could be like just wake up, have my coffee, and I'm ready to go. I'm in front of my computer. It could be 1 hour meditation, a walk, whatever you do.
I am definitely a jump out of bed kind of girl. And I go, I usually spend about 3 minutes in the mirror to make sure I don't have any chin hairs growing.
What's your secret to looking fabulous at almost 60?
I'm not, I get asked that a lot. I'm thinking genetics has a lot to do with it. I'm also thinking that because I have such a healthy diet, I also think it's because I don't believe I'm 60. I still have the mentality and the energy of a, 25-year-old.
Yeah, that will do it.
All my friends are very young, and my boyfriend is 14 years younger than me, and it
You
just
go, girl.
I dance, I play, don't drink a lot. Drinking can really age you. I felt a little worn out when I was traveling a lot. I was living in San Diego and I was flying to Costa Rica, and that from door to door, that was 10 hours. And that was actually killing me because I was doing it like every 5 days. So
Mm,
yeah, so I had some issues there. So just I get up in the morning, I have my coffee. I like to have my morning routine, and then I put on my shoes and I go and walk 5 miles. I power walk 5 miles. Love to get out into nature, love to sweat, love to get the negative ions in my body. And then I shower and I start work. And I try not to work too hard in the computer. Like to mix it up. The computer is what really wears me out, to be honest.
really.
I like physical work. So, if I'm on the phone calls, I like to walk around and keep myself active. Um, I'm bed early, to be honest. I eat a light dinner and I go to bed early because I just like to lay there and kind of just chill for the rest of the day.
Do you meditate?
So I used to have a very strong practice, breath work, meditation, and it definitely went out the door a lot. So what I use my walking as my meditation. I
I
use it
love
as
that.
a walking yoga because specifically like to do it by myself, and I put on my earphones and I just go into this place and it's an hour and a half, and it's when I really manifest, to be honest. It's
Yeah,
when
I love that. That's what I used to do a lot with running, like light jogging, running, and that worked really well for me.
yeah.
Now, how about your goal setting skills? Do you? It sounds like you kind of go with the flow. What you do have dreams and things come up. You're like, oh, this sounds interesting. I'm gonna dabble a little bit in this. But how do you make sure you stay on top of everything? Because being an entrepreneur, a mother, I'm sure you have your personal life. How do you stay on top of your businesses in order to get everything done, but not feel overwhelmed? Because it also sounds like you have a balance in taking care of yourself, right? You go to bed early, you do your walk. Can you talk a little bit about that, or if you don't have a
I go in
balance,
and
are you
out.
doing
I
something
go
to
in.
work?
Well, sometimes I am overwhelmed. There are times when I feel extremely overwhelmed, and then there's times when I feel very balanced, and it's a constant struggle, to be honest. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like one minute, go back to goal setting. I love the saying, "We plan, God laughs."
Yeah, I can see that.
So I think about goals in terms of I look at it on a real 10,000 feet up kind of level. How do I want my life to look? And so if we have specific goals, it can get a little bit overwhelming because if we don't reach them, then we go into that, am I good enough? Am I doing it right? And self-doubt is the enemy of success. Even if you mess up, you have to go. I like to also I deal with a lot of worst case scenarios. I'm in a very big business. My business generates a lot of money. I'm definitely not dabbling in small funds. I've gotten myself to a place where high risk, high reward, you know?
Hmm.
And I think to myself, what would it look like if I lost this? What would it look like if this didn't happen?
So
And
what gives you peace at night to what's the answer to that question that will give you peace at night?
I look at what's worst case scenario and can I live with that? And then
I
I
see.
and then I and then I pivot. And this is beautiful. So Truth Bar is, since COVID, small businesses have been suffering. It's just been really, really hard, and the
Yeah, it
industry
has.
online, everything's just been very, very difficult. A lot of businesses are folding even as we speak. Hundreds and thousands of them every day are being listed that are going out. And I've really had Truth Bar used to be very strong. We lost a lot of traction during COVID. Picking it back up, it's been a struggle.
And I
And
think a lot of businesses can relate. I can relate too. It's been hard. I've been having to put a lot more effort to try to get back to where I needed to be effortlessly.
yeah, yeah, and it was flowing. It was flowing for a while, and now it's like pushing a rock uphill. Well, I had asked a girlfriend of mine who's a famous actress, and I said, "Would you want to, partner with me in Truth Bar and be our spokesperson?" Because she eats the bars incessantly. I send them to her all the time. Oh, she goes, I don't really don't know. I'm just not comfortable with that. I don't know. She goes, I've never done that. She goes, I had my own business with somebody and she goes, I didn't like it. It ruined our friendship, blah, blah, blah. I
Yeah.
said, you know what? We've been friends since we were 13. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Let's just back off. And I was just in London and I literally talking to my partner, who's my daughter. And I said, maybe we should consider what it's going to look like. I'm going to be on QVC in January selling the bar. Like, we should look at this and do we fold? If we can't get the COGS down and start increasing sales and getting our marketing right, I think we should consider closing shop. It's been 11 years, 12 years. And she goes, I agree. And my girlfriend we went out to dinner together and she looks at me and she goes, are you still interested in having me be the spokesperson for your brand?
Wow.
I'm like, really? And she goes, no, I think I'm ready to do it. I was like, just
Wow, that's your sign.
that's the
Keep
universe told me.
going.
Yes. And so, you get this fatal thought, like, am I going to be able to make it? And then something, you get a little olive branch and you go, okay, I guess I have to at least, follow through on this.
Try this one more thing. Yeah, I think a lot of times that's kind of the hard part is like, when do you give up on a project or a business? Because we can have different parts or segments of a business. And if that part or that business is not doing it, okay, how long or how much do I keep pumping in there? How much do I keep
Exactly.
investing before saying, okay, no, like this
Yeah.
is not working. Let me do the next thing. And
Right.
I think that's really hard for entrepreneurs to do, even like for me as well, because it's your baby. You've created it. It's hard to say, okay, no, you're done. I don't like you anymore. We're calling it a quits. It's like your kid. You keep wanting to try and try and try again. So I think
Sure.
as being smart entrepreneurs, we do need to strategize and have that serious conversation, like you did with your daughter. Hey, like if this doesn't work, it's time. Like this is where we draw the line. We're not going to keep losing money on this product. But
And
and
remember, 4 years ago, there was a lot of money. People were buying
yeah.
companies, investing in companies, and now
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Whoa, do I have enough to live?"
Yeah, well,
It's a very different environment, and I kind
yeah.
of went in not knowing that. To be honest, this last 4 years, I was like, "Oh no, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine." And it's like people are a little bit more, sketch about how
Well,
they
it's yeah,
money
it's
out
the
there.
media and all the crazy politics that I never like to think about or talk about or get into. But yeah, I mean, everything is scaring
Yeah,
everybody to spend their money. So for that reason, of course, small businesses are not, especially luxury, because even that bar, it's kind of
it's a luxury
luxury.
bar. What?
Yeah,
Exactly. No, you're
it-
right. It's
people.
not a cheap bar. It's not, buy three for $1.
Yeah. But you know what I also like to think, and I've always thought about this within my business too. The rich, the real rich are always gonna want the luxury items. So it's if that's our brand, we just really have to find a way to target that audience, right?
Yep.
And you having your spokesperson, I could see that happening, that's great. But that's kind of what I've always thought about. Okay, like, okay, if things are bad in the economy, I can't control all parts of the business, right? But the luxury part of it, I could possibly, like those products, I could possibly push to that clientele that are always going to have money. They're always going to spend, right? But it is tricky because it does get more competitive in that aspect.
Yep.
Anyways, just some
You're,
food for thought for
no,
our
no,
luxury market.
you're 100% correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know your
Now,
stuff.
now we are kind of running close to our time, but I do want to talk a little bit about your expertise. So tell us about gut health, inflammation, all this stuff that are kind of coming up now. People are paying attention to it. What should we do? What should we not do? What's your top advice to live as I like simple. So let me ask you the question this way. So what's your top advice to live as simple as possible, but do the right things to be healthy?
Exactly that. Live as simple as possible. And do the
All
right
right.
things to be healthy. I mean, it's no secret what we need to do. You need to initially detox and then re-nourish. And we need to detox the things out of our body that are causing us harm and then re-nourish with the positive things. It's kind of like a glass of water. Just think of when you have a glass of water and you have toxins in your cells, right? When you get to the top of the water, what happens when it's filled to the top? It
Small
domes, right? It's
world,
got
yeah.
a little dome. You add one more thing and it spills over, right? So the
Yeah.
idea is that you want to detox. You want to get your water down, your water level down, so that when you do eat something, you're not overflowing. So you want to lower the toxicity in your body, which means alcohol. I listen. I'm the first person who loves a shot of tequila, so I hate saying that, but alcohol in any capacity is damaging to your hormones, to your gut, etc. Um, no packaged goods. We can't eat packaged goods. You cannot drink sodas. You have to be really careful about what you're putting into your diet. I love going back to Get Naked Fast because Get Naked Fast, remember, know the no's: no dairy, no wheat, no sugar, no meat, no caffeine, no alcohol. If you eliminate one of those just for a week, see the difference. Pick the one that you eat the most of. If it's bread, wheat, get rid of it and see how you feel in that week. And if you're feeling better, then eliminate or lower the amount of dairy you're eating. Lower it.
Mm,
And I'm not saying don't go to boxed oat milks or things like that. That's not the way to go. If you're going to eat the dairy, make sure it's high quality dairy. I'm a big proponent of dairy and butter and all that stuff. It's if it's pasture raised and healthy and
yeah.
not processed.
Straight out of the farm.
And in Ayurveda is one of the most ancient healing modalities of the world, right? People have healed themselves from cancer doing Ayurveda.
What is that?
So it's a Hindu way of they cook herbs. It's herbal basically. We took
Okay.
herbs. If I guess 40 years ago they would have called it quackery, right? And then
Mm.
pharmaceutical companies came in, but it's basically good old-fashioned quackery. And it's all the herbs, the healing herbs that are infused in your body through eating and through body. They massage, they rub it into your body. Anytime you do Ayurveda, you smell like Indian food for like months.
Hey, if I'm gonna be healthy, I could smell whatever, whatever
Yeah.
it takes.
But that's the kind of stuff you have to start doing, thinking, go back to herbs, go back to, real food. And you'll
Yeah,
see
it just really
the
sounds
point of
like
the
tomorrow.
Ayurveda is that it starts in the bone marrow, and the bone marrow is fed by the blood, which is fed by the food. So really, food is your number one proponent to being healthy.
Mm.
And it's the one thing we
And
can control, right? Because we get to decide what goes in our mouth.
yeah, it's easier said than done, of course, but I think the more we talk about it, the more awareness people have about it, they'll be paying more attention and hopefully make better choices. It is very tempting to eat foods that are not good for us because it just tastes so good and it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
easily accessible, and they don't go bad as quickly. Anytime I buy fresh organic fruits and vegetables, literally in two
You're
days,
not
even
alone.
the fresh breads, it goes bad in 2 days. And when you have a busy lifestyle, like overall, I look super healthy, but I'm not the healthiest person. I think genetically, I got very lucky too, but I don't really pay that much attention to what I eat. And every time I talk to somebody who's an expert in that area, I think about it, I'm like, look, it may not show right now in my physical body, but I know it's doing damage in the long run for whatever else it may be. Because I love my sugars, and I'm gonna have to work on it. Well, every time I was pregnant, I was on the diabetic side with my pregnancy, so I had to watch. So that has actually
Yeah.
created better habits for me because, of course, I'm gonna do it for my babies if I'm not gonna do it for me. And you know what I realized too? I'm like, anything that a pregnant person is not allowed to do, really, we shouldn't ever do because it's bad for us. So that's kind of what my guidelines are now. It's like, okay, if I wasn't allowed to eat this or do this while I was pregnant,
Why am I
I
doing it now?
now.
That's a good point.
All right, so on to our closing topics. I just like to know your answers for fun. If you had a magic wand, what's one thing you would change in the world? It could be anything. First thing that comes to mind.
In the world,
Yes.
I mean, I would change the food industry.
Easy for you. Awesome. What is one thing most people don't know about you?
That I'm 60.
That's, I still
Most
can't,
people don't know that.
can't believe it. I love it. What has been your biggest challenge so far, and what have you done to overcome it, or what are you currently doing to overcome it?
My gushy heart. Always
Oh,
because I sometimes I'm soft and I don't like being hard, but in business sometimes you got to be hard.
yes, yes, that is something I'm always working on. I always, yeah, I think being a woman and a mother, it's very natural for us to be softer, and it does take practice to be more firm. But you hire people to do that part for you because it's hard to do it yourself
Yeah,
sometimes.
it is. Sometimes it is. Yeah.
This person's responsible for that part of the
Yeah.
business.
Talk to
For
them.
you.
Listen here. Good
Yes,
talk,
yes,
bad
and
talk.
no. All right. What is an ideal, happy, and fulfilling life look like to you today? And how did it differ, let's say, 20 years ago?
I'm living a happy and fulfilling life. I travel. I have my family. I'm a grandmother. How do you like that one?
Oh my gosh.
I have an amazing boyfriend. I have thriving businesses. The struggles are all part of it. So I think I'm living it. And how does it look different? I think I thought I was going to be alone 20 years ago. I
Mm.
thought somehow I was going to be a cat lady, that I couldn't have it all, that I couldn't work this hard and put this much dedication to my work and actually have a family too. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, the last question will be, where can our audience find you and connect with you, and your last words of encouragement?
Well, Diana Stobo, dianastobo.com. My Instagram is Diana Stobo. You can always find me there. The Retreat Costa Rica and Truth Bar. I'm active every day in the business. So, any channel, basically, people can reach me. And what was the last question?
What are your last words of encouragement for our listeners?
Knowing that your listeners are entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs or people who go through it, be courageous, trust the process. Not everything that you want is going to be what you need. So sometimes we put our energy where it shouldn't go. Pivot, pivot and listen to the universe. If it's telling you it's too hard, then try another path. That's the path you should take.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And pivoting is such a key point that I've learned is needed for a
Mhm.
successful entrepreneur. So thank you for your last words of encouragement. Thank you, Diana, for your time. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And until next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.